Hey guys, good evening and welcome to my exciting channel. We're discussing Mandela effects of alike. Thank you for joining in tonight. Welcome all Mandela effectings. Hey guys. So anyway, there's this movie. It's called My Dinner with Andre. It's a 1981 film that pretty much describes what's going on here with the Mandela effect, I believe. I'm going to play that for you guys. It's going to be about 10 minutes. So just kick back, relax, take off the shoes and just chill for a minute with me as we explore the Mandela effect some more. So let me go ahead and start this film. Here, I'll go ahead and play it for y'all.
You know, it may be, Wally, that one of the reasons that we don't know what's going on is that when we're there at a party, we're all too busy performing. You know, that was one of the reasons that Grotowski gave up the theater. He just felt that people in their lives now were performing so well that performance in the theater was sort of superfluous and in a way obscene. I mean, isn't it amazing how often a doctor will live up to our expectation of how a doctor should look? We see a terrorist on television, he looks just like a terrorist. I mean, we live in a world in which fathers or single people or artists are all trying to live up to someone's fantasy of how a father or a single person or an artist should look and behave. They all act as if they know exactly how they ought to conduct themselves at every single moment, and they all seem totally self-confident. But privately, people are very mixed up about themselves. They don't know what they should be doing with their lives. They're reading all these self-help books.
Oh, God, and I mean, those books are just so touching because they show how desperately curious we all are to know how all the others of us are really getting on in life, even though by performing these roles all the time, we're just hiding the reality of ourselves from everybody else. I mean, we live in such ludicrous ignorance of each other. I mean, we usually don't know the things we'd like to know, even about our supposedly closest friends. I mean, you know, suppose you're going through some kind of hell in your own life. Well, you would love to know if your friends have experienced similar things, but we just don't dare to ask each other.
No, it'd be like asking your friend to drop his roll.
I mean, we just put no value at all on perceiving reality. I mean, on the contrary, this incredible emphasis that we all place now on our so-called careers automatically makes perceiving reality a very low priority. Because if your life is organized around trying to be successful in a career, well, it just doesn't matter what you perceive or what you experience. You can really sort of shut your mind off for years ahead in a way. You can sort of turn on the automatic pilot. You know, just the way your mother's doctor had on his automatic pilot when he went in and he looked at the arm and he totally failed to perceive anything else.
Right? Our minds are just focused on these goals and plans, which in themselves are not reality.
No. Goals and plans are not, I mean, they're fantasy. They're part of a dream life. I mean, you know, it always just does seem so ridiculous somehow that everybody has to have his little goal in life. I mean, it's so absurd in a way. I mean, when you consider that it doesn't matter which one it is.
Right? And because people's concentration is on their goals in their life, they just live each moment by habit. Really like the Norwegian telling the same stories over and over again. Life becomes habitual. And it is today. I mean, very few things happen now, like that moment when Marlon Brando sent the Indian woman to accept the Oscar and everything went haywire. Things just very rarely go haywire now. And if you're just operating by habit, then you're not really living. You know, in Sanskrit, the root of the verb to be is the same as to grow or to make grow.
Huh.
Do you know about Rock?
Huh?
Oh, Rock was a wonderful man. He was one of the founders of Findhorn, and he was one of Scotland. Well, he was Scotland's greatest mathematician, and he was one of the century's great mathematicians. And he prided himself on the fact that he had no fantasy life, no dream life, nothing to stand, no imaginary life, nothing to stand between him and the direct perception of mathematics. And one day when he was in his mid-50s, he was walking in the gardens of Edinburgh, and he saw a fawn. The fawn was very surprised because fawns have always been able to see people, but very few people ever see them. Those little imaginary creatures, not a deer.
Oh,
Call them fawns, don't you?
I thought a fawn was a baby deer.
Yeah, well, there's a deer that's called a fawn, but these are like those little...
Oh, the kind of Debussy, yes.
Right. So he got to know the fawn, and then he got to know other fawns, and a series of conversations began, and more fawns would come out every afternoon to meet him, and he'd have talks misconception, which portrayed Pan as an evil creature, which he's not. But Rock said he would love to meet Pan, and so they met, and Pan indirectly sent him on his way on a journey in which he met the other people who began Findhorn. But Rock used to practice certain exercises like, for instance, if he were right-handed, all today he would do everything with his left hand, all day, eating, writing, everything, opening doors, in order to break the habits of living. Because the great danger he felt for him was to fall into a trance out of habit. He had a whole series of very simple exercises that he had invented just to keep seeing, feeling, remembering. Because you have to learn now. It didn't used to be necessary, but today you have to learn something like, are you really hungry, or are you just stuffing your face? Because that's what you do out of habit. I mean, you can afford to do it, so you do it, whether you're hungry or not. You know, if you go to the Buddhist meditation center, they make you taste each bite of your food, so it takes 2 hours. It's horrible to eat your lunch, but you're conscious of the taste of your food. If you're just eating out of habit, then you don't taste the food, and you're not conscious of the reality of what's happening to you. You enter the dream world again.
Don't you think maybe we live in this dream world because we do so many things every day that affect us in ways that somehow we're just not aware of? And, you know, I was thinking, last Christmas, Debbie and I were given an electric blanket. I can tell you that it is just such a marvelous advance over our old way of life, and it is just great. But it is quite different from not having an electric blanket. And I sometimes sort of wonder, well, what is it doing to me? I mean, I sort of feel I'm not sleeping quite in the same way.
No, you wouldn't be.
I mean, and my dreams are sort of different. And I feel a little bit different when I get up in the morning.
I wouldn't put an electric blanket on for anything. First, I'd be worried I might get electrocuted. No, I don't trust technology. But I mean, the main thing, Wally, is that I think that that kind of comfort just separates you from reality in a very direct way.
You mean?
I mean, if you don't have that electric blanket and your apartment is cold and you need to put on another blanket or go.
By the way, guys, he's speaking about technology here, and that's not just electric blankets here. We're talking about cell phones and televisions and all this other stuff that distracts us from the main reality.
And pile up coats on top of the blanket you have, well, then you know it's cold. And that sets up a link of things. You have compassion for what is the person next to you cold? And there are other people in the world who are cold. What a cold night. I like the cold. My God, I never realized. I don't want a blanket. It's fun being cold. I can snuggle up against you even more because it's cold. All sorts of things occur to you. Turn on that electric blanket and it's like taking a tranquilizer. It's like being lobotomized by watching television. I think you enter the dream world again. I mean, what does it do to us, Wally, living in an environment where something as massive as the seasons or winter or cold don't in any way affect us? I mean, we're animals after all. I mean, what does that mean? I think that means that instead of living under the sun and the moon and the sky and the stars, we're living in a fantasy world of our own making.
Yeah, but I mean, I would never give up my electric blanket, Andre. I mean, because New York is cold in the winter. I mean, our apartment is cold. It's a difficult environment. I mean, our lives are tough enough as it is. I'm not looking for ways to get rid of the few things that provide relief and comfort. I mean, on the contrary, I'm looking for more comfort because the world is very abrasive. I mean, I'm trying to protect myself because really there are these abrasive beatings to be avoided everywhere you look.
But Wally, don't you see that comfort can be dangerous? I mean, you like to be comfortable and I like to be comfortable too, but comfort can lull you into a dangerous tranquility.
Amen.
I mean, my mother knew a woman, Lady Hatfield, who was one of the richest women in the world, and she died of starvation because all she would eat was chicken. I mean, she just liked chicken, Wally, and that was all she would eat. And actually, her body was starving, but she didn't know it because she was quite happy eating her chicken, and so she finally died. See, I honestly believe that we're all like Lady Hatfield now. We're having a lovely, comfortable time with our electric blankets and our chicken, and meanwhile we're starving because we're so cut off from contact with the reality that we're not getting any real sustenance. Because we don't see the world. We don't see ourselves. We don't see how our actions affect other people. If you read Martin Buber's book on Hasidism? No. Oh, well, here's a view of life. He talks about the belief of the Hasidic Jews that there are spirits chained in everything. There are spirits chained in you. There are spirits chained in me. There are spirits chained in this table. And that prayer is the action of liberating these enchained embryo-like spirits. And that every action of ours in life, whether it's doing business or making love or having dinner together, whatever, that every action of ours should be a prayer, a sacrament in the world. Do you think we're living like that? Why do you think we're not living like that? I think it's because if we allowed ourselves to see what we do every day, we might just find it too nauseating. I mean, the way we treat other people. Every day, several times a day, I walk into my apartment building. The doorman calls me Mr. Gregory, and I call him Jimmy. Already, what's the difference between that and the southern plantation owner who's got slaves? See, I think that an act of murder is committed in that moment when I walk into that building. Because here's a dignified, intelligent man, a man of my own age. And when I call him Jimmy, then he becomes a child and I'm an adult because I can buy my way into the building.
Right, that's right. My God. When I was a Latin teacher, people used to treat me. If I would go to a party of...
All right, guys. Well, there you have it. Tell me what you think about that video, because that pretty much explains reality as we know it. That film was from 1971, which basically lays it out for you. The Mandela Effect is a way for us to connect with one another. And through this maze of ugliness and greed, as the Wallflowers put it, we find each other. So anyway, cheers for thoughts. Thanks for checking me out. Have a great Mandela Effect evening. God bless you all.